Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Pause the video right now to check out my social media, my radio show, and thatdrummerguy.com. And most of all, enjoy the following presentation. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for taking time to do this interview.
Oh yeah, man! Thank you for having me on. I'm excited. This is actually my first interview, all drums.
Oh, well, awesome.
I've not got a chance to discuss it since I've become a drummer, so I'm excited about this.
Well, I'm happy to break you in when it comes to that. And what's a better way to be able to do that than to talk about the brand new album from Wayland, Rinse and Repeats, which is coming out September 22nd.
Yes, man, we're super proud of it. The funny thing is the record was actually done when I came into the band earlier this year, and we hit the ground running in January, playing dates, no rehearsals. And by March, I was in the studio re-recording the drums. And so it's very special to me that I got to be a part of the record. And, just to throw what little 2 cents I could in the 11th hour there on drum parts and stuff and sounds. And we're really proud of it. And, like you said, it's a couple weeks from coming out, and just really exciting time.
So with that in mind, when the album is already ready to be released and then you come in and re-record your drum tracks, how much have the tracks differed from their original state?
Out of respect for the vocal melody and the production that was put in on the songs, I did keep it pretty close and true to what was there before. The only thing was, some transitional things, drum fills, accents on the crash. I could get away with a few of those add-ins or takeaways. Sometimes less is more. And I learned a lot of that from Don Henley. I'm really big into old school drummers, even though I do have some modern influence as well. But less can be more. And so I was able to apply a little bit of both of those logics in there, and it was really cool. And again, it's all in supporting the melody and what we do in rock and roll, and so that's what I was able to achieve. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I definitely got to say that from a fan and a drummer perspective. I mean, I really love the way that you approach what you do with the new album. And just like you said, sometimes less is more, sometimes more is more. It all depends on the context of the song and the band and the style and everything that comes into that. But it just feels like you really nailed everything that needed to be achieved on the album.
Well, thank you, man. I really appreciate that. The cool thing was Justin Reimer, the producer, he's gone in on the record, and a couple songs, these are in there. He's created cool loops and percussive type things that are happening in there. So it was really fun to leave some of those elements in there, and then other songs like All Rise. That one probably changed the most because originally it was more like sample drum loop based than organic, and I was able to go in and merge the gap, and so that we left the organic drums on there but blended it in with the loop. So you get this really cool effect, and it was just cool to get creative, with those options there so late in the game, and be able to make it all work. So I really do appreciate that, man. It was fun finding the middle ground. And then you go from All Rise to a song like The Other Side, and it opens up, and it's a little bit more acoustic and expressive in playing. So it was really cool and dynamic to get in there and do all that.
And how was that for you? I mean, when you deal with more of like the loop drums and the electronic drums, how does that feel for you in difference to playing an acoustic set?
I really dig it. I'm playing a hybrid kit live, and that was definitely something that came from how are we going to pull off this record. So I've got 4 trigger pads on my kit, and I love it, man. We don't play to a click. I just set those tempos deep in my heart and soul, and we hit it from the top, and then at whatever point in the song I fire off the loop or the sound effect or whatever it is. We don't ring any vocals or anything, but just like little, knick-knack guitars and bells and whistles in the background. And it's cool, man, because it heightens things and it puts some energy behind it. And as a drummer, it's fun because you can either play with it, which works in some cases, or you can play around it and you get this beautiful bed of percussion, and it's fun.
Yeah, and it's always good to be able to be able to experiment like that. I mean, when you are able to have a hybrid kit like that, I mean, you can still have the real full effects of having real cymbals and real drums, but when you need those moments of the more electronic, percussive moments on there, you just hit the right part on the kit, and you're able to have that more of an experience of the electronic stuff live.
Yeah, it is. It's really cool to be able to bounce between and have those expressions come out. And it's actually something further down the road is kind of something that I thought about doing in the recording process. It'd be really cool to do some of that kind of stuff live. Even though, Justin, who produced this record, he did such a great job of orchestrating all these parts and stuff in there. It can be an art within itself. But it's kind of been something on my brain since I started doing the hybrid live. It's like, wow, you can actually take this to the studio and, put it to the grind like when anyone else is having to play their parts.
So obviously with the album coming out in a couple weeks, and I really dig it from start to finish. I mean, I just love what you guys are doing on there. I mean, I love that kind of diversity that's going on there, from the more heavier tracks on there to the more acoustic blues-based tracks that are going on there. I mean, it's really cool to see that kind of diversity, and especially with your kits, with having the hybrid kits involved with it. Even though with the album coming out in a couple weeks, how much has that inspired you for the next album? I mean, with incorporating the electronics and the acoustics.
Man, we're super excited for the next album. Mitch has got such a great style of writing and a great craft to his work. And Phil's got his signature guitar thing, and Dean kills these vocal harmonies. That's the thing, is I was a singer before this. Quick background, and I've never been in a position where everyone in the band can sing, and we're doing 4-part harmonies and all this kind of stuff. And so we're taking all this in now from this record, and I even just because I was able to be a part of it so late in the game, it still sparked that fire in us that there's some creativity there. Like we're gonna be able to approach this next record and have a lot of fun with writing and styles and everything, and it's definitely something that that keeps us open to not just going down one path sonically or with songwriting. And I think that's something, before I even came into this band, that they did so well with all their other songs and everything, was they would cover ground and yet keep it relevant to who they were. They were able to have an identity, but yet do something that kind of could be bluesy. And then this song was just, hard and heavy. And I think we look to continue that and just refine what that is.
And with that in mind, I mean, with this being the first band where you're able to play drums and sing at the same time, and what was that like for you to be able to kind of have that Don Henley approach of being able to play drums and sing?
It took a minute. It's definitely a little beyond patting your head and rubbing your belly. But I instantly took it one step further, and I play a little bit of keys live and try to do as much as I can back there. But it's really fun, man. I think the funnest part about it is when I was a singer, I realized immediately how important it is that the front man have this pillow to kind of roll their head around on while they sing, if you will. And so when I got back there, I was like, oh, dude, I can do all these things for Mitch that I wish somebody would have done for me. You know what I mean? I was fortunate enough. One of the greatest drummers I played with is a guy named Garrett Whitlock, and he's the drummer in Tremonti, Mark Tremonti's solo band.
Oh, yes.
And he opened me up to so many of these concepts. But it's cool because I was able to instantly, get back there and open up Mitch's world a little bit, to where he had this freedom as a vocalist. And that's where the, less can be more, or more works in some places. And that's where all that starts to apply.
Yeah. And that's such a great approach. I mean, when you are able to sing and drum at the same time, or throwing keyboards and drums at the same time, I've seen that over the years, where there's some drummers who can play with their feet in their right hand, and they're playing keyboard notes with their left hand, and being able to incorporate that style. I mean, it's cool to see that even though sometimes the drums or the vocal melodies or keyboards are more minimal, but being able to incorporate that all as one musician at the same time is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's definitely it's been something I've enjoyed, getting a hold of, and I still am. It's some nights I pull it off, and then other nights I'm like, oh, I probably should sit down and work on that. But that's been the greatest thing about it is, again, at the beginning of this year, we just hit the ground running, and I've been not only learning how to play drums drums, but how to sing and do it at the same time, and also perform in front of a crowd. And it's been a really cool journey.
So also with that in mind, how much has your kit changed from being in the studio to live? Are you using the same setup, or is there any differences?
Very little difference, really. In the studio, I mean, size-wise, I guess the drums changed. In the studio, it was like a Pearl Master Series, 22 kick, 14/7 snare, 12 rack, 16 floor, 2 crash ride hi-hat. Live, I'm running a 26 kick because it's pretty rock and roll and it looks good. 12, 14, 16, I got 3 toms, 1 up, 2 down. I have a giant steel 14x8 snare that I use that sounds amazing. And then again, just 2 crash ride hi-hat cymbals. And tuning wise, I keep everything kind of relative to the record. I've always loved a balanced kit, and I kind of got that from Travis Barker. He always bounced between, your 10 and 12 rack and your 14, 16 floor, and they always sounded so huge. And so that's where I get those from. And then the 26, again, it's just fun. It's a rock and roll drum, and if you and your front of house guy know what you're doing, it should sound like a kick drum. A smaller drum always is going to have a little bit more punch to it, and you can get into the technicalities of all that stuff. But live you can get away with it. So I went a little bigger there.
Yeah, I mean, if a 26-inch kit was good enough for John Bonham throughout all of Led Zeppelin, I think you're doing something right by incorporating that live.
Exactly. It worked for him. I can figure something out with it.
So when you do go out and play live, when it comes to like the fills or accents or anything like that, do you change much from what's been on previous records, or do you try to keep it true to what's on the album?
I very rarely play the same thing twice in the little accents and the little things or whatever. We really just kind of lock into live. I mean, the structures of the songs are true to how they were recorded. If the verse is some kind of combination of floor tom and snare or whatever, I keep the core of everything, how it's recorded and how it was conceptualized and written. It's just some of the little in betweens. If we're grooving on a certain wavelength, maybe I'll pick the fill up a little bit, or maybe I'll drop it out and let it have a bigger impact on a different hit. I love feeding off of the energy of the show and the room and the crowd, and if that just means that I'm going to create that little pocket for a minute for everyone to go, hey, that was cool, then it was worth it,
Yeah, and I definitely think that's the right approach to take as a drummer. I mean, it's one thing to be able to play everything note for note that's on the record, but it really shows the talents of a drummer when you are able to incorporate your own style into the song every time, and really being able to feed off of what's going on for the live show, what you feel is right for the appropriate time. I mean, sometimes it's not going to work out. Sometimes what you think will sound cool doesn't work out, but when you really put your heart and soul into like a certain fill or certain accents or whatever the case is, it can make it sound even more impactful live.
Yeah, and that art very much got lost. That was John Bonham definitely did that. You go and watch any Zeppelin stuff, and he'll start a song off so different that you're wondering what they're about to kick into, but they know. And but it ain't what's on the record. But it seems like somewhere along the 80s that art got lost all the way up until today. You go and see some bands, and it's like they literally hit play on the CD or on their I guess it's Spotify now. And that's great, and it's cool to be able to go out there and have this polished, refined sound rolling off the stage. But people don't know why they're disconnected, but they just can't connect with it because it's not raw and passionate. And when we get up there and start connecting and filling out the room, that's where those moments come from. If I start hitting those drums a little bit harder, it's going to get your attention. And then if we mellow things out and I'm back there playing with brushes, it's going to pull you in. And I think that that's a little bit of an art that's gone, and it's fun watching it work, because there's so much proof of when it used to work. And the game changes, it all comes around, and there's definitely plenty of bands out there that are keeping it true and honest and straightforward. Like the guys in Red Sun Rising are that way. They're just a straight up rock band. They play with emotion and get out there with Phil. you know, it's all good, to each his own, but we like energy, and we like impact, and that's definitely our, you know, we have all those old school influences, so we love all that.
Yeah, and that, to me, that always makes for the better live show too. And I mean, it doesn't just happen from the drum perspective. I mean, it's from the entire band too. Like sometimes breaking into a little jam session in a song if it feels appropriate. Sometimes messing with the tempo, like either making a song slower or faster to feed off the energy of the crowd, and you know, just make it a full, true live experience rather than just pressing play on Spotify or a CD or whatever the case is, and hearing that through giant PA speakers. I mean, I would rather have that full live experience like you guys are talking about.
Yeah, you know, it's something that I think is becoming more common, but you know, it's all preference, and again, you know, everyone's gonna have their way of saying what's the best way to go about it, and it's what's comfortable for us. You know, when these guys first put out "Welcome to My Head," which was 3 or 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years before my time, they were playing the tracks and stuff back then, and I remember seeing them, and it was great and it was cool. But it's just funny how within 4 or 5 years now, it's just your heart lends you a different way, and you know, and what you're looking for out of music pulls you in a different direction, and they were feeling the same thing. So we're able to make that change, and it's cool because I've never been in a band that played with tracks, and since they had mastered it, it was cool to hear their feedback on switching over to not playing with the click and doing all that kind of stuff. So it's really cool, and that's what being in a band and music's about. You know, just changing it up and being expressive, and having that freedom to portray, you know, your music the way you want to.
And with that, is there any particular examples of the live show where you really, no, not so much stray off the path from the song, but just like make the songs more impactful live?
Yeah, Get a Little, which is kind of brushes on a southern rock-esque vein for the band. We started out normal, but by the second verse, we really chop it up and have fun with it. I start playing some funky beats, and Phil, the guitar player, starts kind of getting crazy with little runs and stuff, licks he's throwing in between. And normally what happens is him and I push that crazy second verse moment until we come off stage one night, and Mitch, the singer, looks at us and goes, "Okay, I can barely sing. You got to reel it in." And so then we start back over for the month playing it like the record, and then we get a little fun and crazy. But it just, people feed off of it, you know, because they see us laughing, they see us having fun, and the song's moving right along, so nothing's wrong, you know, and it's just a great moment. That's usually towards the end of the night for us, and then we fire things off with a bang and wrap it up. But that's definitely, it's one of the funner moments. And when I first came into the band, we were doing a cover of A Whole Lot of Love, and once we really settled in, you know, and I got my feet underneath me playing with these guys, some nights that song would close maybe 12 minutes or more. I mean, we would be like, we just lay into it, but it was great learning about each other through playing. You know, you can't, when you're on stage in those moments, you can't stop and discuss anything. You got to figure out how you're going to get back around to something and not look like a fool in front of these people. So it taught us a lot, but it was just great moments where we were able just to disconnect and let go and just have at it for a few minutes and just play. And it's really cool. It's a fun, unique thing for sure.
Yeah, and it really shows the power of what you guys are capable of, and the chemistry between the band when you are able to go into those settings like that and be able to pull things around and make for a great live experience, because there are some bands that have no idea how to be able to stretch out a song or to change a song live or whatever the case is, but you guys are able to impact the stuff live depending on how you guys are feeling that night, how the crowd is feeling that night, and just make it more of a great show that way.
Yeah, you know, and our set list is kind of the same way live. Kind of from the Foo Fighters book, it gets drawn up randomly, and it all depends on what we're walking into. You know, is this a situation where we have 30 minutes in one of our bigger markets to go in and knock out some ground, or are we talking about 45 minutes in front of a couple thousand people that have never heard us before because we're in, you know, the middle of North Dakota? And we try to put those factors into the set list and have them, you know, wrap around what we think the night's going to look like and what's what's going to be successful. And it's fun, man. It's nice not having a one way of approaching a night. You know, we don't get tired of the set. We don't get tired of the songs because you have to stay up and up because they may have moved somewhere in the set and now it requires a different delivery from you as a musician.
Yeah, and again, you know, that's just a great way to look at it too. And you know, it's very important to be able to write songs that you're going to have a lasting impression with, because you never know what songs are going to be the ones that take off. I mean, it could be what a band considers to be a B-side or a leftover song that could become the band's biggest song. So you got to have your heart and soul into every song that you produce and be able to have that love for it live, or at least change it just enough to be able to really appreciate those songs live and make it for a great impact.
Yeah, you know, that's the beautiful thing about the music industry right now is there's no more model. You know, there used to be such a precise formula to what a band did and how a band did it and what was going on with the song so far as what's a single and this and that. And with everything today, you know, we're about to put out our fourth, I say put out, we're just going to release the fourth song off of the record before it's out. And we're just doing that to not only give back to the fans, but because that's an option now. You know, you don't have to put everything into one song and the wall. You know, we understand that, you know, people get excited, they hear one song. Well, why not let them hear a couple so they have something to listen around to? I mean, I love the new Foo Fighters song, but after a dozen times of hearing it, I do listen to something else. And so that's the coolest thing about what's going on right now in the industry is there's no set standard, and we're able to go, you know what, we love this song, we feel that this should be portrayed this way, you know, put out a lyric video and let's post it up like for this, you know, or this or that. And it's a very, very nice thing to have at our disposal.
Yeah, and like I mentioned before, you never know which one of those songs is going to be the one to really take things off. So like when you do have that passion to release like 4 songs off an album before the album becomes available in a couple weeks, I mean, it really shows how dedicated you guys are to the songs that you've recorded to be able to share that much of it.
Yeah, you know, the really cool thing about this record is each song has its own journey and its own background as to how it ended up on this album. And as a fan of this band before I was in it, it's exciting to play these songs because we go into one song and it's like, oh, Phil and Mitch wrote this with the dudes from Shinedown. This is, you know, we're up there playing a song that Brent and Zach wrote with them. And then 2 songs later, you know, we're doing something that, you know, all these notable Nashville cats came down and recorded pedal steel and stuff on. And it just, for me as a fan of the band, it's exciting having this catalog of unique songs that not only go together, but came from so many different places and so many different experiences.
Yeah, and with that, it's also great to see all the touring that you guys are able to do. I mean, looking at things, I mean, you guys are pretty much like booked up through the holidays coming up now, and it's great to see that you guys are going out and promoting the album and promoting the band as much as you guys are.
You know, that's what this whole thing is founded on. These guys, once Welcome to My Head dropped 4 years ago or so, they hit it hard, and they went out there and they just started connecting with real America and real people. And the philosophy that they were brought up on was have a fan base to sell a record to. Don't go out and try to sell a record to people that don't know you. So they put, you know, they did what had to be done in between those times, putting out singles and so forth. But what it's led to is now there's this amazing record that we're supporting, and there's people that are excited about it. And you know, like tonight is a full circle moment for us. It's the first venue that I played drums on, and it's a place that these guys have been packing out in Peoria, Illinois, for a couple years. And it's a really cool thing, you know. And we know that everyone in here is not only excited about that record, but probably already has the pre-order. And so it's just it's a different level of hype, you know, with having that much built up behind a record. It's a very beautiful thing.
Yeah, and again, you know, it's so cool to see. I mean, whether it's a show where the fan base may not know who you are and you have to like build that name through your sets and just like get people interested in it, or a show like tonight's where everyone probably does have the pre-order for the album and they're looking forward to hearing every song that you guys are being able to play. It's great to know that you guys are able to adapt in such a way, being able to play with bands of different styles or similar styles and continue to be yourselves and just going out there and just having fun playing some great rock music.
Yeah, you know, we hit it about 7 months straight from January and took a couple weeks off. And when we came back out, the single had dropped through the fire and started climbing up Billboard Top 40. And so we instantly got in on all these radio events and acoustic promotional things and whatnot, and got to start meeting other bands that are kind of in our position, like the Black Top Mojo guys. And it is really exciting because it's going to start to diversify what crowds we're playing in front of and who we're sharing the stage with. And it's cool because, right now we'll go, I think, coming up, I think it may be next year, but still, it's like we're doing like a bluegrass festival. We're going to go in and do our acoustic setup. And for that, I play like a half kit. I play like just a kick, a snare, floor tom, ride, hi-hat. Very basic, no triggers, no keys, no nothing. That's a bluegrass festival. But, a month ago, we were playing with Hell Yeah in Sturgis for a motorcycle rally. So that's kind of the beauty of what this rock band is, what Wayland is, and it comes from touring, and it comes from learning in all these moments and figuring out how to make it work, because we love it all and we want to do it all.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely tell that you guys have the right approach to this, and that's why I've become a fan of the band, because, I mean, just from hearing the music that's always been out there to being able to get some more insight with you through the drums, through your perspective of the band, I mean, I really love what you guys are capable of doing, the diversity of your guys' sound, the spirit that you guys have as well, which is so great to see, and I really hope when Rinse and Repeat comes out on the 22nd that people will be going out there buying the album if they didn't pre-order it already, and just really experience what you guys are capable of, because I imagine that you guys are just going to be getting bigger and better from this point on.
Well, man, thank you so much for those kind words. That means so much. We're very anxious to get all this rolling, and it is an exciting time. Like you said, it comes out on the 22nd of this month, and we've got a music video out for Shopping for a Savior, which was like all of our first times doing something larger budget for a music video, and we convinced them to let us have naked girls in a church, and I don't know how we got away with that, but we did. And then we got through the fire up in the 30s right now. I think it's like peaked out at 32 for a minute, but we're over 6 weeks on Billboard, and it's a very amazing time. And I know that we're all super thankful for it. And we've seen so many bands screw it up, the wrong attitude or too artistic for their own good. And we crave to find that balance and respect the system like we respect the universe. If you don't have your life in balance, you ain't going to get too far down the road. And it's the same with a band. If you don't keep each other in check and keep the operation in check, it ain't going to get too far. And we're all well aware of that, and we hope that shows on down the road here, and that we're the next Metallica showing up at Woodstock or Rock on the Range with our own security and take over for an hour and a half.
Oh, absolutely. Well, thank you so very much for taking all this time to be talking about everything that's going on in the world of Wayland, and I'm so excited to see everything that's happening for you guys, and the honor of being able to help promote Rinse and Repeat, which again comes out September 22nd. Having been able to check out the full album, I love what I'm hearing from it, and I know to anyone that is remotely interested in what you guys have to offer, they're going to find something they're really going to enjoy with this album.
Well, dude, thank you so much, and I appreciate you reaching out and making this possible, and giving us an outlet to reach out to people, let them know that we exist and that the record's coming. And again, thank you for the opportunity to talk drums for a little bit. That was a first for me, and I look forward to doing more of it, man. Thank you so much.
Oh, not a problem. Well, and speaking of that, before we wrap things up, is there anything else you'd like to mention that I hadn't brought up yet?
Find us on social media, man. We post all over Instagram. It's Wayland the Band, Wayland the Band, on all social media fronts. I'm on Instagram. Nigel Plays Drums. And we post all about our days. I'm constantly posting pictures of drum stuff and what I'm up to, and I'm pretty all over the place with making crazy changes to my kit or trying out different heads and discussing them on there. So I just encourage everyone to find us on here, and if they dig the music and dig what we do, reach out to us. We love meeting new friends and fans, and that's what it's all about for us.